never know why, never know how. Life makes so many changes. One day you're drifting down a lonely road, no one to comfort or to hold you. Sailing on a sea, sailing all alone, reaching out for a lifeline, and in the gloomy haze behind the clouds there's an island. In one moment life can change. In one moment there's tomorrow. One moment comes and fills this empty space. You've entered my life and you brighten up my day. You did it all in just one moment. In a heartbeat, twinkling of an eye, I found happiness again, and I discovered that I can love again. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. You'll never know just what you did for me. Even if I try to tell you, words cannot express the happiness you give. Oh, in one moment life can change. In one moment there's tomorrow. One moment comes and fills this empty space. You've entered my life and you brighten up my day. You did it all in just one moment. See, I was lost in a world of darkness, void of all light. Thought I would never see the light of day again. In one moment, life can change. In one moment, there's tomorrow. See, one moment comes and fills this empty space. Oh, you've entered my life and you brighten up my day. Oh, you did it all in just one moment. One moment. You did it all in just one moment. You did it all in just one moment. One moment. One moment. One moment. God is great. God is great. So I am great. So I am great. God is great. God is great. So I am great. So I am. God is great. So great. And I am great. Put your hands together. God is great, and I am great. God is great, and I am great. God is peace. God is peace. So I have peace. God is peace. God is peace. So I have peace. God is peace. Peace. Oh, I have peace. Oh, God is great. So I am great. God is great. So I am great. God is great. And I know that I am great. I am great. Yeah. Put your hands together. Yeah. God is great, and I know that I am great. God is great. God is great, and I know that I am great, and I am great. You are great, we are great. Oh, God is love. Oh, la 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 la. And God is great, so oh, God is love, sweet love. I love you and love, we are love. I know I am. 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 I am. I know I am.
Happy Sunday, beautiful people.
Oh, happy Sunday.
It is so good to see you. It is so good to be here with you. We are already laughing and full of joy, and we can feel and see the joy in your comments. So let's get started as we always do with prayer. And this morning we will be led in prayer by our prayer champion, Lavonda Elam.
Gracious love, this Sunday Celebration Spiritual Center. It's always good to be with you. Let us turn inward as we steady our spirits and anchor in words of truth. As we steady our spirits and anchor in the experience of infinite wholeness that surrounds us. Anchoring in the one mind, the one presence, the one power that I call absolute law. Love that is actively working in my favor. Law that is unconditional loving. Law that is pure perfection. Law that is the essence of freedom, the essence of peace. Law which is divine intelligence that is unchanging, limitless, and forever yielding in its operation in and as my life. Infinite Spirit of the Most High, I come today in sweet gratitude for this knowing, for this loving law that abides within, that governs and rules the way that I move, knowing that its breath is my breath, knowing that its mind is my mind, knowing that its soul is expressed as my soul, and that this soul love, this guiding oaring our direction is replicated and named as each individualized expression joined here today. Oh, Mother, Father, God, wherever there may be a doubt about this, wherever there may be places where we have forgotten who we are, I'm so grateful to be here today to be reminded that as above, so below. That as genius is, genius does. That as goodness is, goodness does. And that this sweet love rising is all up in us. It's all up on us. It is everywhere we are. And it stays put. So Infinite Spirit, as you are right here, right now, I trust and know that we are exactly where we're supposed to be in this divinely appointed time. As we come together to join in, to listen, and to celebrate in the gift of the word, I know that our minds are newly enticed and actively engaged today. I know that our spirits are wholly enriched, and I know that our love spaces are expanded. I affirm and know, Mother, Father, God, that our beloved pastors are gracious vessels of divine overstanding and understanding for the word to flow easily through them. I am knowing that today's sermon is marked in love and by love, and that today's takeaway is exactly what somebody needs this day. I affirm this and more as I stand affixed on this truth, as I give thanks for this knowing, as I give thanks for the miracle that the day already is, as I give thanks for the ways that we commune in solidarity, the ways in which we continue to grow our love, and the ways that we say yes to the healing of our minds. I say thank you for the experience that is already known and manifested as good. I see it done, and I await. So with great confidence, I release this prayer back to the law of generous reciprocity as I gratefully say, Amen, Ashe, and so it is.
Amen. Ashe. And so it is.
So
yes,
it
yes.
is. Yes,
Pray us on in.
Yes.
Pray us on in. Well, hello again and good morning. It's so good to be here with each and every one of you. We are happy to be here with you. And if this is your first time celebrating with us, we want to stay in touch with you. We want to hear from you. We have a weekly email that goes out every Friday, and you can stay up on all that's happening here at CSC. In order to join our mailing list, it's very easy. All you have to do is text the word welcome to this phone number that you see here on your screen, 347-472-1078. Please just text the word welcome. No additional emojis or signatures. Otherwise, you will not get the automated reply. But when you just text the word welcome, you'll get a response asking for your information, and then we'll add you to the mailing list. We are happy that you're here. Feel free to shout yourself out in the comments. Let us know where you're connecting from. We know the 5 boroughs are represented. We know a big portion of the East Coast and many other states and around the world are represented, and we love knowing where you're connecting in from.
Yes, yes. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we have a few announcements, some wonderful things to talk about, some wonderful things to celebrate. So let's get into that before we get into our meditation. So the first thing we must acknowledge and celebrate is exactly what has taken place. Being here in Brooklyn, being here in New York, it was amazing. Literally, you felt the city exhale. Literally, we saw and heard celebrations and cheers and horns honking and pots and pans banging. PY and I had a little dance party up here in the house and FaceTime with family. It is a joyous moment. First, I just think it's important to just celebrate each and every one of you, each and every one of us, because we showed up. We showed up as a country in a magnificent way. No candidate, no incumbent has received as many votes, and no winning candidate has received as many votes. We voted in the midst of a pandemic. Right? When you think of all of the hearts and minds that came together, all of the collective will and the collective momentum. I was saying to PY yesterday, thinking about the NBA doing something it had never done before and unprecedented in supporting and helping people to register to vote and paying the fees that our formerly incarcerated brothers and sisters needed to pay so that they could vote. And there's just so many people that came together, again, our collective will, just to exercise this right and affirm that democracy is alive and well. And then we have experienced and we've made history. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in the sermon, but we are experiencing history. The first woman vice president, the first Black vice president, the first South Asian vice president.
So many firsts.
I mean, it's just wow. And so we must celebrate and honor this moment. It is a time for joy. It is a time for celebration. And we know we have much work to do. Yes. And so we're seeing the comments, right? Everybody's just flowing because just Lord have mercy. Just powerful.
Yes. Let us never forget that we and our vote matters.
Yeah. We can never say again or never think again that it doesn't matter. Shout out to Detroit and Philly and Georgia.
Exactly.
We have some more good news. We received an unexpected email this week that we are being honored and celebrated as Brooklyn COVID-19 heroes. We have no idea who nominated us, but we are grateful. We and CSC as a whole, we're being recognized and acknowledged for the ways in which we've showed up throughout this pandemic, the ways that we've shown up for the community. And it's just amazing. You know, I'm almost speechless and just honored. There's going to be a small ceremony on Tuesday. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we can't have a bunch of people there. So we will share pictures and post some things on social media as we get them. But we will be receiving a citation from the city for showing up, for doing what we do, being a beneficial presence on the earth, doing what our mission and vision and our purpose says, right? That we serve all creation, that we embody unconditional love. And in the midst of this pandemic, this is what we're called to do. So we are so very grateful and thankful, thankful to you all, whomever chose to honor us in this way and to submit CSC and submit us as the pastors in this way. We're grateful. And so we look forward to celebrating on Tuesday.
And we will continue to support and get the word out and do whatever it is in our ability and our power to do
always
while this pandemic is continuing to rage on. We hold all those families that have been impacted. We continue to look for ways to support all of us, to remind you and to remind ourselves it's not over. And to continue to provide resources that will support us as we move through this.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, thank you all.
Yes, thank you.
It's so cool. It's so very cool. We did not announce this last week, but we want to make sure that everybody is aware. As we do every year, Thanksgiving weekend, we won't be holding a service. We won't be streaming. We want you to take that time to enjoy that weekend, although we recognize that Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving weekend will look very different. We pray and we trust that everyone is everyone is heeding the guidance and the warnings to keep your gatherings very small if you're going to have a gathering. But ideally, the safest route is to simply celebrate with the people that you've been spending time with that are in your household now, because we recognize that, unfortunately, we are in an unprecedented situation in the United States with cases now over 120,000 in the past few days. It's mind-boggling. For those that may not know, to just give you a perspective, in the summer, Dr. Fauci said that going into the fall and the winter, we needed to be at about 10,000 cases or less
Per day.
per day.
So that puts it in perspective, right? Where
Right.
we are as a country
Right.
with this virus.
Right.
So please take care of yourselves and celebrate. Find new and interesting ways to celebrate. We're going to do the same.
Yeah, we are. We absolutely are. You can also go to the CDC's website. There's specific guidance around the holidays, around Thanksgiving, about sort of the different levels of, what's the safest. If you are going to have a gathering, what are the things that you should be thinking about and doing, recognizing that we want to keep our numbers down, right? As a country, we're grateful in New York that our numbers are relatively low. But as a country, we want to keep our numbers down. We want to make sure that our hospitals actually have available beds for those that may need them. And also so that we do not overwhelm the system and our healthcare
Absolutely.
workers who are absolutely on the front lines and dealing with things that most of us are shielded from. And so this is why we make the choices that we make, because we're actually supporting and protecting them.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. Do you have a prayer request? Well, if you do, we're happy to pray with you and for you. This email address, it's always available, prayerchampions@celebrationsc.org. You can leave your worry at the door. And when you send that email, it comes to the two of us. It also goes to all of our prayer champions. And so collectively, we hold the vibration. Collectively, we stand in the knowing. And by the way, shout out to our prayer champions.
Yes, yes.
I know that so many of you tuned in for our Election Day prayer and the multiple rebroadcasts that happened throughout Election Day. That vibration was beautiful and high. We all felt something as we embarked on that and as we recorded it. And I could see from your comments and your sharing that it was met and received. And I just want to shout out our prayer champions
Yes.
for showing up, for remaining faithful, for remaining steady, and holding the high watch with us throughout
And for
all of
us.
this. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, again, if you have a prayer request, feel free to email it to prayerchampions@celebrationsc.org. But because we are a church that absolutely believes in prayer, it is one of the foundations. CSC wouldn't exist without prayer and the
Say it.
power of affirmative prayer. We hold our Wednesday weekly Momentum Prayer Call. All the information is here. Grab the number, put it in your phone, call in on Wednesday morning just before 7 a.m. and we get started right on time, as we love to do. And I share that day's reading from the Daily Word, and then the assigned prayer champion for that week then prays. And it's powerful and effective. We also have a playback number because we do record the prayer. So if that time doesn't work for you, or you just find yourself in the need of prayer at a specific time, you can tap into that vibration. Just use the playback number and wait on the line. You don't need a code. You don't need to enter anything else. And again, we're always here. We love praying. We believe in it. And so we continue that going every Wednesday morning. We look forward to having many of
Yes.
you join us. And if you're on our mailing list, all this information is in the weekly email that comes out on Friday. So you don't have to try to come back to this video to get the information. Finally, next Sunday is the third Sunday, which means it's God Talk Sunday. The God Talk is a time for you to ask questions. Whatever's going up in your life, receive insight and guidance from the two of us, and really learn how to apply new thought principles to what's showing up. As we're in the midst of a pandemic, there's lots of things showing up. As we are in the midst of many people being unemployed, there's lots showing up. As we are in the midst of great change, lots of things are showing up. How do we apply these principles? And in some ways, learning how we're misapplying the principles.
And that's what I was about to say,
Yeah.
how we misapply the principles. There's so much information out there that people are gathering as they read and study, and we love to be there to help you clarify anything that you're misinterpreting or misapplying. We've discovered that sometimes people misapply these teachings, and they end up creating situations in their lives where they do some damage in terms of how they treat themselves because they think they're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And it could simply be a misapplication of a teaching.
Absolutely.
And so we love being able to support and help you fine tune your knowledge.
So that's the God Talk. No question is off limits. It happens on Zoom. And so as you see here, the Zoom link and password is sent via email. It's in our weekly email that goes out. So again, if you're not on our mailing list and this is interesting to you, I'll just pop this on the screen again so that you can join our mailing list. Just text the word welcome to 347-472-1078. This is not the last time you will see this information. So if it comes
Yes.
back to your mind and you're like, oh, I want to join, you'll see that information later on in this broadcast. But that's the only way you can get the link. Zoom, it's private, it's not recorded, but we do host that on Zoom.
It's a beautiful opportunity for us to come together and support each other and hold space for each other and, in a way, see each other. And so we love seeing you on God Talk Sundays.
Yes, yeah. And so in this moment, I believe it is time for meditation
It is
with
time.
PY.
It is time. As we just said, we love coming together and supporting and witnessing and seeing each other. And there's a truth that sometimes gets lost in a lot of the teachings or misapplied. But today and this month, we are holding the knowing that we are one with all that is. One with the mind that extended itself as love, individualized expressions, individualized opportunities to create, individualized, but still one in the mind, never separate. And that's important because sometimes when we're in the world, it feels like we're on our own. It feels like we are on our own. And yesterday we took a collective breath, an inhale and an exhale together, and how good it felt to know that we were one with this power, presence, and truth, and we were one in celebration together. Never separate, no matter what's happening that's creating the fear or the disappointment. Those emotions are fine. No judgment of those emotions. But when we bring ourselves back to this unified truth, we remember that God is right there where we are in our experience. And not only is God there, but the collective power of us all is there. So, let's practice today. As I like to say, we can read all the text and be able to regurgitate those texts. But we need to be able to internalize and live the truth of this knowing. All the information in the world is just that. Unless you have your own experience of this mind, of being connected to God, it is only information. Each of us is connected. Each of us is connected to the power. And each of us is connected to the truth. Each of us is an expression of that truth. So let's feel that connection now. Go ahead and find a comfortable seat. Whether you are seated on a sofa, like I am, or whether you are seated upright in your bed or on a chair, settle in now. Maybe look around the room and notice that you are in a safe place. And right where you are, God is. And right where you are, this energy and flow of life is. Settle into that, relaxing a little bit. And now, let's close our eyes because we know that we are safe. Closing our eyes releases our focus from the external and brings it to where it really is, at the seat of power within us. As we close our eyes, it signals our body that it is time to relax. So just enjoy that sensation of noticing right where you are that the breath is flowing. Never obstructed, whether it is deep in your mind or shallow. We remove all judgment from the breath and we stand in gratitude that it is moving. Just notice for a few rounds. And as you notice the breath making its way on a beautiful path in through the nostrils, circulating in the body, and exhaling again out of the nostrils, maybe you notice how cool it is when it enters and how warm it is when it is released. That this cycle of breath is ongoing, whether we notice or not. We are connected to the breath and to all that is. And now, let's take some conscious control of the breath and breathe as we do. Bring your focus and your awareness and your attention to the low belly. And together, breathe into the low belly. Inhale. Expanding the low belly, holding it there. Open the mouth and let it all go. Again, inhale, filling up the low belly, expanding it from the front and the sides and the back, elongating the breath. Hold it. And release. Inhale all the way up, in and up through the rib cage. Hold it there, expanding the front and the sides and the back of the body. Just feel it all there. Hold it. And release. That feels so good. Let's do it again. Inhale all the way in and up through the rib cage. Many of you said that we've been holding a lot. Hold it there for a few seconds and release into the gratitude and the room that we make. Inhale in and up through the heart now, all the way up to the heart chakra, center of the chest. Hold it there. Expanding across the chest, across the back, relaxing the shoulders, and release the breath. Again, inhale the fullest breath that you've ever taken, all the way up through the heart. Hold it there. Open the mouth, relax the jaw, and release. Let's take a few rounds of this deep, full breath. Inhale all the way in and up through the heart. Hold it there. This time, close the lips and exhale, nice and easy, through the nose. Let's take a few rounds of this deep breath together as we are in the one mind, filling up completely. Lips are closed. Inhale and exhale through the nose. A few rounds here on your own. I am one with all that is. I am one with the breath that is breathing me now. I am one with each soul assembled here. I am one with the collective power that activates and spins the planet and the galaxies. I am one with all that is. Beautiful. Now let's bring that energy to relaxing these vessels a little more. Take your focus and your energy and place it on the feet. Maybe relax the toes, raise the heels maybe. Whatever it takes to relax and release. Sending breath into the feet. Relax the feet. And now, sending that energy collected beneath the feet into the ankles. Relax the ankles. We've journeyed on together, these feet that are surrendered. We relax them and send energy into the shins and calves. Relax the shins and the calves. Energy travels now across the knees. Relax the knees. This flow, this connection to all that is cannot be stopped, and so we feel the energy flowing across our thighs, making their way to our hips, the seat of our joy. We relax the thighs, the hips, the glutes, and the hamstrings. Surrender and relax now. And the energy that is gathered there, we imagine it activating our subtle body, flowing and opening and aligning each chakra on its way, its ascension, traveling up our spine, traveling up, opening, activating, balancing, traveling up and out the crown of our head. From this open place, energy above us, we see us all connecting to this flow. We see us all celebrating this mind. We see us all joining in the light of love. And now, giving permission for that energy to re-enter our atmosphere. Energy flows down through an open crown, across our third eye, activating our throat, and sending that energy across our shoulders as if the hands of the ancestors say, "Relax, dear heart. You are one with all that is." That energy flows down our arms and out our fingertips. At this point, you may turn the palms up to receive more, or turn the palms down to relax and ground. But pause here, noticing that the energy is flowing. It is circulating, and we are connected to all that is. And as we prepare for our silent time, scan the body one more time. Notice if you're holding on anywhere. Give yourself permission to surrender, to open, to connect. I will monitor the time. You take the inward journey. If the mind wanders, it is okay. When you become aware, bring it back to the thought and the truth that I am connected to all that is. Enjoy the connection now. With our eyes still closed, we enjoy this time that we've given ourselves. With our eyes still closed, we take an internal snapshot of the vibration and the frequency and the energetic flow that is happening. And with our eyes closed, we remember the truth of these words. I am one with all that is, all the power, all the beauty, all the creativity, all of the abundance. I am one with all of the love. So let's begin to make our way back now. Nice and easy. Maybe elongating the breath, sending it into the body. Maybe placing the palms down on the tops of the thighs, making contact there, maybe rubbing across the thighs and the knees and the shins. Just noticing the connection of palm to thigh, the sensation of energy flowing now, waking the body. Pause there and draw the shoulders up by the ears, nice and easy, no hurry. Inhale, draw the shoulders back, and exhale, nice and easy, releasing the shoulders down. A couple more circles here. Inhale, up and back and down. Last time, inhale, up and back and down. Now bring the palms together at heart center and bow the chin to the fingertips, noticing here the connection between the heart, the mind, the body, and all that is. Honoring the time that we've given ourselves. And now slowly flutter the eyes open, taking in a point on the floor in front of you. Inhale, raise the chin, raise that soft gaze, and release. Namaste.
Namaste. That was beautiful and refreshing. Wonderful, wonderful. I feel the vibration.
I do too.
I feel the connection. It is wonderful. It is wonderful. So we're going to hear from Soul 21 in a hot minute. But before we hear from Soul 21, I want to share with you again the description of our message series for this month. November message series. The title is What Is Mine to Do? In their classic song, Wake Up Everybody, the prolific architects of the sound of Philadelphia, Gamble and Huff, remind us that the world won't get no better if we just let it be. Hiding behind spiritual platitudes, a misuse of positive thinking, and retreating to the safety of their mostly white worlds, many in New Thought have failed to embody the wisdom of those words. Simply put, they fail to fully embody the truth of what it means to be one with God, one with nature, and one with all humanity. Now, acknowledging the failures of the past is an important step towards the healing, but we cannot stop there. This moment in history is our opportunity to answer the call that fell on deaf ears decades ago. How will we respond to this moment? How will we embody the spiritual philosophy we love and practice? How will we do our work and show up for humanity? The answer starts by asking ourselves one simple question: what is mine to do? This month, we will lean in and listen for the ways that Spirit is seeking to be the answer through us. When we listen, all things become possible. And I'm going to be speaking to you today from the topic, Keep the Light On. So we will get into that sermon after we hear from Soul 21. I think y'all are going to enjoy this one.
Yes, yes.
I thought this song was appropriate because it speaks to healing of racial tension, healing of division, healing of separation. And one of the things that I love to think about is whatever it is that we want in our world, we have to declare it. We have to decide and say that it is now. And yes, there's much going on our planet, and there's much going on that would suggest that there's not healing going on. But when I consider that Celebration Spiritual Center exists, when I consider that there are other communities and spaces like this that exist, that we represent the beloved community, coming together and healing the division, that tells me that there's a healing going on. Because if we exist, we become the example, we become the lighthouse for the rest of the world. So I invite you to affirm with us that there's a healing going on. A healing within, a healing in our nation, a healing on our planet. As we speak, and so it shall be. Mother, Father, God. Mother, Father, God. There's a healing going on. Mother, Father, God. There's a healing going on. Mother, Father, God. There's a healing going on. Oh, you rock my soul. You rock my soul. Honoring all our differences, and love will set us free. vibration is healing. There is indeed a healing going on right now. There's a healing going on right here and right now. Oh, you rock my soul. Yes, yes, yes. Was I right? Oh, that song just feels so good in this moment. There is a healing going on, and we stand in that powerful affirmation. And as I shared there, we have to declare and decree it now, that which we want to see. That's what we speak right here and right now, that there's a healing going on, healing of separation, healing of division, healing of all fear, doubt, and worry. There is a healing going on. Well, good morning again, beautiful people. I'm happy to be here with you. I'm happy to share with you. As I said, we are in our series, What Is Mine to Do? And we started last week in week 1 with the message, The Construction Crew. And the heart of what I shared in that message is that regardless of who is elected, and more importantly, before we know who is elected, it's important that we make a decision, because we recognize the power of mind and the power of thought and the power of intention, that we have to choose where we are, that we're choosing to be on the construction crew, that we're choosing to be part of that which is life-giving, nurturing, and supporting, that which is beneficial, no matter what it looks like, no matter who's in the White House. And so that's going to determine what we do next. I shared that it's just like in the scripture where it says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Where there is no vision, the people cast off restraint. There's nothing to guide them. There's nothing to move them forward. And so we, by choosing to be on the construction crew, and we all made that choice last week, we now have that choice as the thing that is guiding us and moving us forward, even as we have the results of the election. If you didn't hear that message, I invite you to go back to it. You can watch it here on Facebook or YouTube. But we have had an amazing week. Yes, we've already been celebrating, and we acknowledge the powerful news of President-elect Joseph Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. We have had a history-making, glass ceiling-breaking week. And while we waited patiently sometimes this past week, and other times not so patiently, for the final vote, we watched Georgia and ultimately Pennsylvania go blue. And as we watched the results come in, as we watched the count, and we started to get information about the exit polls, we learned some things about our nation, and we learned some things about our fellow Americans. As of today, the count, over 74 million people voted for Joe Biden. As of today, over 70 million people voted for Donald Trump. And we take that information and we say that this series is about asking ourselves a question: what is mine to do? I want to remind you of what I shared in the description, that this moment in history is our opportunity to answer the call. How will we respond to this moment? How will we embody the spiritual philosophy, new thought that we love and practice? And how will we do our work and show up for humanity? Again, we were given some information about how people voted. We were given some information about how people showed up. And as I contemplated what we might be able to glean, what revelations are available to us from the election results and its subsequent aftermath, what I heard in my spirit were 4 simple words: keep the light on. And so I'm going to share with you what this simple phrase, keep the light on, what Spirit it was speaking to me through that phrase, and we're going to look at this phrase. It has actually a few different meanings depending on your vantage point. And so first, let's just start with the baseline of these numbers. Over 70 million people voted for Donald J. Trump. Over 70 million people voted in support of an impeached president. Over 70 million people voted to continue with the leadership that we have. Over 70 million people voted in support of a mountain of lies that still continue as of yesterday. I don't know what kind of tweets happened today. Over 70 million people voted in support of a racist and a fascist. Over 70 million people voted in support of a president who calls those who serve or served in the military losers and suckers. Over 70 million people voted in support of a president who is okay with over 230,000 deaths from COVID-19. But again, as I looked at these facts, what I heard in my spirit is keep the light on. Keep the light on. Because this information tells us something about ourselves and about our nation, and we have to keep the light on. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it reminds me of something that you've heard me, I think last month, I referenced it, and we're going to reference it again a little bit today. The book Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. If it's not on your reading list, if it's not the current book you're reading, move it on up. There's a whole lot of other recommended books to deal with racism, anti-racism, etc. Put those other ones to the side and read Caste. I think that white fragility doesn't even have any real relevance if you don't understand caste. And even some of the work of Ibram X. Kendi, even though I don't fully agree with all that he has to say, you can't fully appreciate his work if you don't understand, I think, what Isabel Wilkerson is sharing with us in terms of caste. And so in the opening of the book, she shares this story about something that happened in Siberia in 2016. So in 2016, the United States of America elected Joe Biden, elected Donald Trump president of the United States. And there was something that was going on in Siberia, which is interesting because climate change is one of the critical issues that we're facing as a planet. And we hear this idea of global warming, right? The climate is changing. And one of the indicators, of course, we see is places where it never gets incredibly warm. It is getting warm now. And what's happening is that we hear about the Arctic is melting. The icebergs are melting. And so in Siberia, we have the permafrost, right? That word is interesting. Frost or ice, frozen parts of the land that never melt. But because of climate change in 2016 in Siberia, it got incredibly warm. It got to 95 degrees, incredibly hot, unseasonably warm. And so what happened is the permafrost, that which was deemed or thought to be permanent and had been permanently frozen for thousands of years, if not longer, is now melting. And because of that, something interesting started to happen. I didn't know what was going on, but children of the reindeer herders in that region started to die and started to get sick. And eventually a 12-year-old boy died. And this became, a critical thing. And the government, looked into it, started rescuing people out of the area, taking them into hospitals. And what they found is that it was anthrax that was making the people sick and killing them. Why? Because way back in the 1940s, after the World War, there was anthrax that had been used, and there were infected reindeer. And they buried the reindeer deep in the ground, understanding the permafrost, knowing that it's buried. It's the equivalent of like being in a bunker. And so, unfortunately, not knowing, not expecting that it would ever get warm enough to melt this permafrost, the reindeer, the anthrax never dies, right? So it was still in the bodies of these dead reindeer. It got into the land. It got into the living reindeer that were being tended to by the herders. It got into the family, and that's what happened. And what she says is the anthrax, like the reactivation of the human pathogens of hatred and tribalism in this evolving century, had never died. It lay in waiting, sleeping, until extreme circumstances brought it to the surface and back to life. And so what has happened, and I love this brilliant parallel that she makes, is that racism and hatred and white supremacy and all of the things that we have seen and experienced being used, xenophobia, over the last 4 years, so many people have been living in this blindness, which we talked about last week, that, oh, this is not who we are. And actually it is. Right? Our permafrost in the United States of America are the accomplishments of the United States of America, the wealth of the United States of America, the trinkets of the United States of America, all the stuff that we have that takes our attention. And so then we don't recognize that there's actually anthrax right underneath our feet. And if we don't pay attention, that permafrost is going to melt. And we're going to be dealing with what was always there because we didn't deal with it properly to begin with. And so I believe that there are many well-intentioned people who want to practice positive thinking now because Joseph Biden is in the White House and say, oh, all is well now. We've put a good man in the White House. We don't have to worry anymore. Biden won't stoke the flames of division. Yes, that's true. That's true that we have put a good man in the White House. Be hard-pressed to find anyone, even his so-called opponents, who won't call Joe Biden a good man. We do not necessarily have to worry. And no, Joe Biden will not stoke the flames of division. But the assumption is that those divisions were created because a certain person was elected 4 years ago. That would be magical thinking. Many of you have seen, because I shared it again this past week on Facebook. If you haven't seen it, last year, August of 2019, after the mass shooting in El Paso, Professor Eddie Glaude spoke so eloquently to this point that this is us. This is who we are. That's part of what's been the problem. Right, this cognitive dissonance that as we're seeing children put in cages, and as we're hearing this ugly rhetoric and the ways in which our Asian brothers and sisters have been falsely accused for somehow causing the pandemic, it's like, oh no, this is not who we are. This is not who we are. Donald Trump made use of what was already there, and so. When we think in this context and what I heard in my spirit, keep the light on means that we acknowledge who and what America has always been so that we can heal and transform America into who and what it always was and had the potential to be. Keep the light on. Please, please, please do not do what I know some people are going to want to do now and just, oh, all is well now. Nope. We need to keep the light on this thing, not just to say, look, America's bad. Look, we have a problem. No, that's not it. We keep the light on so we can acknowledge who and what America is so that we can heal and transform America into who and what it has always had the potential to be. What that reminded me of, and I know some of you have heard me teach on this, there's something that I coined called the Ray Charles Principle. And the Ray Charles Principle it's rooted in a conversation with Reverend Al Sharpton, talking about the state of the country after 9/11. And we all remember after 9/11, there was this profound sense of unity. The country came together. Everyone was a New Yorker, all of these wonderful things. And he talked about being at the radio station in one of those days immediately following 9/11. And they played America the Beautiful, the Ray Charles version. And what he began to recognize and see and think about, as you hear these words, oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain. He said, it really occurred to me, he remembered that Ray Charles can't see. And so as he's singing these words about America the Beautiful and these descriptive words, he wasn't singing about something that he had a visible experience with, but he was singing about something that he had an inner knowing about. And so that was the power and the energy, which is why I believe that no other version of America the Beautiful can ever match what Ray Charles did because he was speaking and singing about something that was aspirational, something that we could not see with our eyes. And so it is the same thing for us right now. We must practice the Ray Charles principle. We keep the light on because we recognize that America has the potential to be something that it has never quite fully lived up to. See, black people have been practicing this principle for our entire existence in this country. We believe in and understand the eternal, universal, and life-supporting power of the spirit of our founding documents and creeds, while at the same time having a different experience out here in the world. But if we were unable to tap into something that our eyes cannot show us and then command, demand, and march for that which we are desiring to see, we wouldn't be where we are now. There wouldn't be free ancestors of enslaved Africans. There would not be a Voting Rights Act, a Civil Rights Act. And so when we say keep the light on, this is what we're talking about. Do you have the capability and ability to do as Ray Charles did, to sing about something that you can't even see with your own eyes? But because there's an inner knowing within you that's so powerful, you translate that into something that people can feel and people can begin to visualize within their own minds. Keep the light on also means we make room for changed hearts and minds. Yes, we can look at and focus on that 70 million, but of the 74 plus million who voted for Joe Biden, many of them voted for the very first time. I have to admit, it was hard to believe and hard to hear. I love Shaquille O'Neal, and I'm grateful that he was honest enough to say that this was the first election he has ever voted in. And thank God he voted for Joe Biden. Shaquille O'Neal is not alone. And I actually know that because he was open and honest enough to actually speak that out, that he gave others permission to do the same. Hello, Marianne Williamson. Of those 74 million who voted for Joe Biden, many of them voted for a Democratic president for the very first time. And in some cases, they voted blue all the way down. So when we talk about keeping the light on, again, I'm not focusing on the 70 million, but I recognize that we also have to make room for changed hearts and changed minds. Now, there was something else I heard as this idea of keep the light on. It reminded me of an article that I read recently in New York Magazine. The title of that article is Wide Awake, and the subtitle, the past 4 years have seen, or I guess the byline, the past 4 years have seen the birth of a modern progressive movement so vast and energetic, it just might be equal to the right-wing forces that threaten its extinction. This piece is written by Rebecca Traister. Powerful piece, pretty long read. But there's a couple things that she highlights that I think support this idea of keeping the light on, another angle, another perspective on keeping the light on. Because those 74 million plus votes represent a movement. They represent individual citizens, they represent individual stories, but collectively they represent a movement. See, it's interesting when we look at the arc of history, it's very interesting. And I'm just talking about our recent history. Obama was elected in 2008, re-elected in 2012, right? Black Lives Matter was born during the Obama administration. Colin Kaepernick took a knee during the Obama administration. Now hear me, I'm not saying that it's because of the Obama administration. I just want you to see the timeline. Y'all remember our sister Bree Newsom when she scaled the pole in South Carolina in the State House and yanked down that ugly, evil Confederate flag? That was during the Obama administration. The hashtag and the campaign Say Her Name to acknowledge that black women are also experiencing violence at the hands of police, that happened during the Obama administration, between 2008 and 2012. And why is that important? Because what we understand is that if you understand how movements happen and as you understand how visions unfold, the seeds for a modern movement were sown back then. See, we said we had hope. We talked about change we can believe in, and we were looking with our eyes thinking that, oh, Obama ain't doing nothing. Obama's not doing what we want him to do, but we did not recognize that simply his presence and the power of people coming together in '08 and 2012 opened the door for movements. And these things were given birth to during that period of time, those 8 years. And then she writes in the piece, she says, but the spirit of unrest bloomed explosively in the Trump years, in regions and minds long arid of political, let alone progressive engagement. And so what happened in the last 4 years? We had the Women's March, I think it actually is the largest protest march ever on U.S. soil. What happened in these last 4 years? A rallying cry came forth, nevertheless, she persisted. What happened in these last 4 years? A record number of women have run for office and won their offices. What happened in these last 4 years? March for Our Lives was birthed after the Parkland shooting. These brilliant voices and these brilliant minds, these young people that have come together and organized. The Green New Deal became a household name. The Green New Deal became something that's talked about all over the country in spaces that it would not normally be talked about, which gave birth to the Sunrise Movement. These same young people that are marching for our lives for gun reform and gun control, they also recognize that they want the planet to be here so that they can survive and thrive. And so the Sunrise Movement has been birthed. The Me Too movement grew to a fever pitch, and some folks are in jail because of it. The chants of abolish ICE have been ringing out in the wake of family separation policies and children being placed in cages. Make no mistake about it, this is the movement, and this collective movement is what helped put Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in the White House. So in this context, keep the light on means we keep marching for and affirming what we want. Yes, we hold this administration accountable, and we also support this administration. See, keeping this light on means that we understand that protests must also be translated into policy. That protests must also take us into the halls of power. Shout out to our dear sister Cori Bush. Again, Black Lives Matter movement being birthed during the Obama administration, and now we have one of the leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement coming out of Ferguson. Cori Bush is now representing the people in Congress. Keeping the light on means we don't forget what we actually voted for. I shared last week, Senator Cory Booker, removing Trump was the floor. We recognize that I think that was one of the mistakes that we made in 2008. We thought all we needed to do was usher in the greatness that is Barack Obama. A stellar, pristine presidency. But we took our eyes off of the ball. We said, all right, Barack, you got it now. Take us on into the promised land. That's not how it works, y'all. And so keeping the light on in this context means that we keep the light on what we want. We keep the light on continuing to articulate what a world that works for everyone looks like. We keep the light on and continuing to articulate what are the policies that we want to see enacted. We continue to talk about Medicare for all. We continue to talk about universal health care. We continue to talk about the Green New Deal. We continue to talk about climate change. We continue to talk about, as our sister Brittany Packnett Cunningham, she tweeted today, and it's been on my mind since yesterday. Combating systemic racism are words that have continuously come out of the mouth of our president-elect and vice president-elect. This is unprecedented. And so this is right here at the forefront. This is what they're about. It's like, this is what my administration is about. We're gonna get rid of systemic racism. We're gonna do those things. And so it's important that we keep the light on. And so there's one more thing, one more way in which Spirit was working with me around keeping the light on and understanding what keeping the light on means. One of the most powerful revelations that came to us out of this election is the state of Georgia, the Peach State. Georgia went blue for the very first time in 28 years. The last time that the state of Georgia voted collectively for a Democratic president was in 1992 when Bill Clinton beat the incumbent George H.W. Bush. There are so many people that have worked tirelessly to bring about this change. However, the face of this historic shift is the brilliant Stacey Abrams. Yes, yes, I already see it in the comments. Yes, shout her out, say her name. And what's interesting to me is that in her own words, she says this was 10 years in the making. I want you to hear that. In her own words, she says that this was 10 years in the making. I was watching an interview on MSNBC, Senator Chris Coons of Delaware. He said, I remember 6 years ago, Stacey Abrams coming to me talking about this plan that she had. And you could tell he was kind of like, I didn't know if it was going to work. But he remembers that 6 years ago. And what she's saying is that this was 10 years in the making. We know she ran for governor of Georgia in 2018 in the face of massive voter suppression and an opponent who basically cheated, oversaw the purging of the voter rolls. He was still the Secretary of the state of Georgia, creating a conflict of interest while he was the candidate. And she still came close to winning. She only lost by 55,000 votes. And so I've seen posts, one of the narratives have been, Stacey Abrams, she ran for governor in 2018 and she didn't sulk. She got to work. She established fair fight and helped Georgia flip blue. But that's not the whole story. This was 10 years in the making. Her running for governor was just a part of the vision, was just a part of the plan. And so when I consider what Stacey Abrams has accomplished and all of the beautiful souls that have worked tirelessly with her and have learned from her and what her organization has done, keeping the light on means trust your vision no matter what. Keep the light on reminds us that the day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. Take a breath on that. Somebody needs to hear that today. This is what Stacey Abrams is demonstrating to us as she kept the light on her vision. The day you plant the seed 10 years ago, 6 years ago, talking to Senator Chris Coons, is not the day that you eat the fruit, but that fruit is so delicious today, isn't it? Keeping the light on means keeping the light of your attention and your focus on your goal. Keeping the light on, as Stacey Abrams is embodying and showing us, there will be delays. There will be setbacks. There will be temporary defeats, but we understand what? That every failure contains within it the seed of its equivalent success. Keeping the light on tells us don't do it alone. A vision that you can do alone, I believe it ain't really a vision. But you enroll people. You talk about your vision. Once you've got yourself together, hush your mouth principle. Once you're confident and sure in this thing, and if you watch the interviews and read so many of the interviews that were done with her, there was a level of being sure within the heart of mind of Stacey Abrams that immediately arrests you into believing as well. She kept saying, I believe we will win. I believe that we can win. She was unwavering. Nevertheless, she persisted. She was unwavering. Keeping the light on reminds us that all things are possible and no vision is crazy. It reminds me of that famous Apple commercial, Here's to the Crazy Ones. The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. My sisters, my brothers, my human family. We are living in a consequential decade. I think we should be clear about that. And so we must keep the light on. We must keep the light on in the places that we need to transform and heal. We must keep the light on. We must keep the light on the world we want and the movement that we gave birth to. We must keep the light on. We must keep the light on because we recognize that the race is not given to the swift, and nor the battle is given to the strong, but it is given to she who persists. It is given to the one who sings, I shall not be moved. Like a tree planted by the rivers of water, I shall not be moved. We must keep the light on because we recognize that the race is given to the ones who are crazy enough to believe that the impossible is possible, that the unseen can be seen, that which we have not experienced in almost 30 years can be experienced now. Do y'all realize that a glass ceiling has been broken in our lifetime? I love that meme. Ladies, put your shoes on. There's broken glass everywhere. A glass ceiling has been broken in our lifetime. And for that reason and that reason alone, let us keep the light on. With that, I invite everybody to just take a deep breath in. And we exhale. We breathe in. And we breathe out. There is only one mind, only one power, only one presence, only one divine intelligence, only one creative cause that I choose to call Mother, Father, God. It is right here, right now, for it neither comes nor goes. It is right here, right now, closer than my hand, closer than my breath. It is right here, right now. I breathe it in, I breathe it out. I am in the present moment now. I am in the God moment now. And as I recognize that God is and is right here, right now, as I recognize that love is and it is right here, right now, as I recognize that wisdom and intelligence, they are and they are right here, right now, I recognize that I am one with it and one of it because I am right here, right now. I recognize that you are one with it and one of it because you are right here, right now. That means we are swimming in all the power there is to be, do, or have anything. That means that we are living in, moving in all of the wisdom and intelligence, every answer that we could ever desire. We are living in it right now. And as I bring the focus of my attention and my awareness to that profound reality, I speak this word in faith. We choose to keep the light on. We choose to keep the light on so that we can see those places that need to be shifted. So we can see that those places that are unhealed. We keep the light on so that we can bring the light of truth, which always heals, which always reveals, which always sets free. We keep the light on in this moment, keeping the light on that which we desire, keeping the focus of our attention on what we want, keeping the focus of our attention on a world that works for everyone, keeping the focus of our attention on truth and love and justice, keeping the focus of our attention, recognizing that there are so many who have gone on before us and they did the very same things. They kept the light on. Not based on what their eyes could see, but based on what their heart knew, based on what the God within them was reminding them to be true. We recognize and remember we keep the light on because God has never changed its mind about what is true. God has always been the God of justice. God has always been the God of love. God has always been the God of equality. God has never changed its mind. We keep the light on and we refuse to change our minds. We refuse to let any external conditions or, again, what our eyes see to lead us back into the darkness, frozen under the permafrost, waiting to melt and be revealed again. We keep the light on, and we are grateful and thankful for the embodied example of Stacey Abrams, showing us what it means to keep the light on. A vision that seemed impossible, but she knew it was possible. A vision that could not and did not happen overnight, and she knew it was possible. A vision that was met with temporary defeat, but now we live in ever-ending victory. Never-ending victory. I'm so grateful and thankful for this example that reminds us of what it means to keep the light on a vision. On a vision of equality. On a vision of justice, on a vision that so many have thought and focused into being that we get to enjoy the fruits of. So it is with joy and thanksgiving that I release this prayer. knowing that the truth continues to march on, knowing that we are breathing now, and knowing that in truth, all is absolutely well. Together we lift up our voices and we say, Amen, Ashe, and so it is. So it is.
Ah, yes.
Wow.
Keep that light on. Keep the light on. And if you are in a room where it appears dark, where no one sees what you see, turn the light on.
Absolutely.
Turn it on and stay there. Keep that light on.
Yes.
Keep that vision going.
Yes.
If you're in the darkened room and no one else sees it, then you're there to turn it on. It's up to you.
Yeah.
It's up to you. It's up to all of us. Wherever we find ourselves, we keep the light on because our ancestors turned it on for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Or we turn the light on for those who will follow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pastor Greg.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I pray that meets you where you are, and I pray that will come back to you throughout this week and throughout these final 74 days of
Yes,
45's
yes.
presidency. We keep the light on and we do our work. I'm excited about this series and where we're going to be going in the final weeks. So in this moment, it is time. It's time to prepare for giving. I know that many of you may have already given. Giving is very easy and simple because we give online. So you see the information here on your screen. You can go to our website, celebrationsc.org, or you can use the number to text to give, 347-744-9500. There is a $10 minimum for texting. And we say it each week because it's just the truth. But we give what feels good.
Always.
Always, right? Giving has to be a joyous act, right? It must be. It's the only way that we experience the benefit of giving. It's the only way that we experience this thing that we call the law of circulation. And when I say experience it, I have to be clear. We're always experiencing the law that is behind giving. It's just this is the only way that we experience it in a way that is beneficial to us, because the law always works. We're always planting something in the ground. In any way we give, we should think about this even as we're shopping. However we're making use of our funds, right? We're circulating our funds. It's currency. It's designed to move. And so we must actually continually be in a place of joy. I've stopped myself sometimes, and we catch each other if we start talking about the price of something, right, or complaining about it, or recognizing that, whatever, apples cost this much. Like, well, then don't buy the apple.
Exactly.
In that energy, right? It's so incredibly important, and we're always about teaching the law behind and the principle of these ideas, of giving. And so this is why we say, give what feels good, so that you can experience the true blessing of giving, so that you can experience the true abundance of giving. The law is always working. We're either working with it or against it. It's either our taskmaster or it's our servant. And so when we give from that place of joy, when we give what feels good, when we give knowing that we are giving from a well that won't run dry, then we can affirm this absolute truth. All the money that I use, returns to me multiplied.
Returns to me multiplied.
In a never-ending cycle.
In a never-ending cycle.
Of increase.
Of increase.
And enjoyment.
And enjoyment.
Yes. And so we affirm the truth. It is coming right back to me, coming right back to me. All that we give, it's coming right back to us. Yes. So again, as a reminder for everyone, the God Talk happens next Sunday. And we look forward to sharing with you then after service.
And you must be in the room to get your questions answered.
Absolutely. What else is happening? I think that's it for now in terms of like upcoming announcements. So we look forward to that. We look forward to seeing and sharing with many of you on Wednesday in our Momentum Prayer Call. All the information is in the email, and there's actually a link on Facebook if you want to check out that information and you're not on the mailing list. All right. So we love you. We appreciate you.
Yes, we do.
Have a great Sunday. Enjoy this beautiful weather. Enjoy these 70 degrees, and stay safe. keep your mask on, all that good stuff. But we look forward to seeing you next week, same time, same place. All right, bye for now.
Bye for now.